welcome all of you to joining us tonight at our webinar. So my name is Yanni, and I'll be taking you through today's session with Mr. Roy, who is one of the most experienced ACCA tutors at LSBF Singapore, with more than 21 years of experience in Singapore and in many countries in Asia. So before I pass the time on to Mr. Roy, we're still waiting for some participants to join. So please allow me to give a brief introduction about LSBF for those of you who are new to us. So LSBF, also known as the London School of Business and Finance in Singapore, was founded in 2011. It has seen an exponential growth over the last 10 years, establishing campuses in the UK and also in Singapore. So LSBF Singapore is actually a Platinum ACCA approved learning partner, which is the highest and most prestigious form of recognition of a tuition provider's quality and success in teaching and supporting students in obtaining their ACCA qualification. So throughout the session, we'd be delighted if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat box. We'll answer them at the end of the Q&A session, which Mr. Roy will take you guys through. So, all right, now I will pass the time on to Mr. Roy.
Thank you, Yanni. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my Sbr materials. In fact, I'm just using this for my revision classes. So, a little bit about me. I have been teaching around Asia. I've been teaching in Singapore, that's primary home country. I've lectured in Malaysia, Tar College, and Indonesia, Jakarta, Surabaya, Batam. Then I've also lectured in Yangon, yes, and also Cambodia. So these are some of the countries that I've been lecturing in the past 21 years and 10 months, because I've been teaching for that amount of time. So there's a lot of things I can share with you. So on the screen, this is just some of my academic qualifications. I have a master's degree in finance. I'm a fellow ACCA member. I'm a chartered accountant. I'm also ACCA. What's this? It's a trained teacher. It's a qualification by the Singapore government for a trained teacher. So I've introduced myself very quickly to you. Right? Oh, okay. So let me just share my screen. There we go. Okay, share screen. Good. Can you see the screen now? Great. As I'm saying, this is my Sbr Division Materials that I've written. I wrote this set of materials to help my revision students. All right. So this is me and my qualification. I have, there we go, Master of Degree in Finance, fellow ACCA member, Chartered Accountant in Acc. So this is me teaching for the last 21 years and 10 months. What can I share with you in that 1 hour? Oh, plenty of things. First of all, if you have a camera, please take it out. Take a picture of the screen. This is my exam focus. I'm focused on Sbr alone. In your Sbr exam, let me go to the exam format. The examination format, I'm sure you know, but let me just go through this. Question 1 will always be 30 marks. So question 1, as you can see, it will always be 30 marks. Plus question 2, another 20 marks. Question 3, 25 marks. And question 4, 25 marks as well. I'm sure you know this because you've been preparing for the examination. So what is the value adding here? Aha. Question 1 will be console. And I can promise you goodwill 100% examinable. You need to know how goodwill is calculated. There'll be 2 types of goodwill, partial goodwill as well as full goodwill method. Then in question 1, you may encounter a foreign subsidiary. So what's the big deal about foreign subsidiary? You will have to calculate exchange gain and losses, exchange differences we call it. So how do you get exchange differences? Remember, ask yourself, do you end up having more goodwill? If you have more goodwill, that means it's something good. If it's something good, you call it exchange gain. On the other hand, if you have less goodwill, it is something bad, exchange loss. Next, you have an NCI. NCI is on the credit nature, non-controlling interest. Do you have more NCI? If you do, that means you owe the NCI more. It is an exchange loss. So exchange gain, exchange loss, it is not because there's a bracket or there's a minus sign, but it is because you have more asset, more liability, more expenses, more income. You follow me? Followed by question 1 can also be a cash flow question. In the past, there has been cash flow questions called carbis. There's been cash flow questions called sugar. What am I talking about? What carbis, what sugar? These are past examination questions that's been tested. So this is question 1. You expect question 1 to be console. If not console, cash flow, or probably both come together. So I'll talk about what to expect afterwards. But let me go through the format still. Part of question 2 will always be ethics. This ethics, somewhere between 5 mark to 10 mark. And when it comes to ethics, what must you do? Identify if there's intimidation threat. The director, the CEO, the managing director, or the finance director actually threaten the accountant. Otherwise, familiarity threat. Otherwise, you talk about your self-interest threat. Example, the directors are worried that the debt covenant will be breached very soon. So as a result, you are forced, you're the accountant, you are forced by the director to post some debit, some credit to maintain the debt covenant. And if you do that, you get to keep your job. And the finance director get to keep his job. What do you call that? Self-interest threat. There's a motivation by the director to maintain the debt covenant ratio, example, gearing ratio, ROC ratio, that is to cheat. So as long as you do not follow the accounting standard, that's to cheat. So in question number 2, you must apply accounting standard to the case to see if there's been manipulation, cheating. So this will be 5 to 10 marks. Minimum 5 marks, but in the recent years, things have changed. It is not so clear nowadays in the couple of last examination that the directors nowadays do not threaten the accountant. There's no, if you don't follow me, you lose your job. If you follow me, you get big fat bonus. No such thing anymore. So Graham Holt, who is Graham Holt? He has been the examiner since the days of 3.6 until P2 until Sbr. And in the month of July, ACCA has recently held a teachers conference, and I'm so happy to see the examiner's face again. So there's a period of time whereby ACCA hide the examiner's face, hide the examiner's name. Then again, their names appear, their faces appear. So there's Graham Holt, your Sbr examiner since P2, since 3.6 days. I met him a couple of times in the teachers conference, one time in Nottingham, and a couple of times online. So we move on to section B. In your section B, you also you also have this question number 3, question number 4. Primarily, they are about accounting standard, IFRS, IAS. But question 4 is a little bit peculiar. Why? It is because question 4 will include alternative performance measure. APM doesn't mean advanced performance management. Oh, by the way, I teach APM as well. But when I say APM here, I refer to ratio. I refer to EBITDA. I refer to other things like current issues. Example, sustainability has been so important topic, sustainability on Sbr. And ACCA website, you can find a ton of information. That also includes this one, current issue in question 4. So as you can see, 4 questions are compulsory. The first question you're going to answer, it must be question 1. I don't care how confident you are in section B, question 3, question 4, that is another point. You must allocate enough time to answer question 1 first. Let's talk about time management. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you know that you have 3 hours, 50 minutes that will make it all together. 180 plus 50 minutes. This will give us 195 minutes divided by 100 marks. What does that tell me? 1.95 minutes per mark. And if I have 30 marks for question 1, 30 marks. This, if I'm not wrong, I get 97 minutes. So let me just confirm 1.95 multiplied by 30 marks is about, oh, so sorry, 97 is a 50-mark question for my APM. So this is 58 minutes. I get 58, don't round up to be 0.9. All right, don't round up to be 59, 58.5 to become 59. No, no, no. You keep it to be 58 minutes to do 3 things. 1, 2, 3. The first thing you do, you're going to read the case. The second thing you do, you're going to plan your answer. And the third thing you do, you are going to type, no more writing, type your answer. Okay, at this point in time, let me turn on my iPad, which is sitting below this camera, so that I can go on to show you what I mean by taking this read, plan, and write. So this on the screen will now be the ACCA website. All right, I'm sure you can see this. So where and how do you access this? Listen very carefully. It will only be one time. First of all, you go and Google a web browser, accaglobal.com, and you go to the bottom, you see this ACCA qualification. After you enter ACCA Global, I'm sure you are familiar with this. Why? This is where you register for examination. Then you will find SBR. Amongst this, you can see the pass rate. It is disheartening, but don't worry. Other people have low pass rate, but that doesn't mean you have low pass rate. For as long as you have the right exam technique. All right, so part of my job tonight is to show you the exam skills. This is called ACCA Practice Platform. If I mouse it over, it becomes red color. So this is the practice platform. You have to enter here. You have to now log in to my ACCA. It says there, log in to the practice platform, which looks like that, which I do not have a student's login details. I have a teacher's login detail. So once you log in there, you will see the same thing as now on the screen. This is your test reach login. As you can see, this is my office email address, and you cannot see my password because it's hidden. Once you log in, the ACCA test sheet, you log into this candidate account, and you must assign on the right-hand side on the catalog. You must assign. Once you assign your SBR example here, international. Once you assign this, you will find past exam library. I am going to show you what to do. Okay, I'm going to show what to do. This is your ACCA past year paper. If you do not assign, it will not appear on the right-hand side. So you have to assign. After you assign, did you see that this is the youngest question on the screen? March, June 2021. We are now 2021. September exam 2 months ago, ACCA did not publish. So what we have here is the youngest question, March and June 2021. And first question is always 50 marks. I'm sure you've seen it before, but I'm going to share with you in this 1 hour exam technique. Come on, 1 hour, I cannot teach you all the accounting standards, am I right? I will show you something useful. As a student, you can only, here, computer-based exam, you can only highlight. You can only remove highlight. There's no way you're going to use a pen to scribble on a computer screen. It doesn't work that way. And at the bottom, you have navigation previous bars, and here, symbol, highlight to different colors, strike through calculator. It is only useful if you are sitting exam remotely. That means at your own home. You are not allowed to use any writing paper, any personal calculator. You have to use the ACCA Test Reach platform or the Exam CBE platform. This calculator, which I think is a waste of time, because why do you need a solar panel on a computer screen calculator for? However, if you really use that, you can use the number keypad on your keyboard to enter. For example, I type here, right? 1, 2, 3 plus 4, 5, 6. I can simply get the same number. So this is minus 4, 5, 6. Or if you do not want this, you can change it to a standard view, which is a little bit more colorful, but primarily it's the same thing. If you are sitting for the examination remotely, you have to use the on-screen calculator and you have to use the on-screen scratch pad. However, if you are sitting for the exam in the exam center, this scratch pad calculator don't touch, because you'll be given a piece of paper and a calculator for you to write. Follow? Next, as a student, first thing you do, you read on the right-hand side. Year end December, Exhibit 1, parent by parent Colombia by Peru. Exhibit 2, Peru fair value net assets. Exhibit 3, another company called Colombia's parent company's pension plan. What do you do next? You read the requirement on the screen. You have to click on the requirement. Please, next step, do not open the exhibit. No, never mind question 1, 2, or 3, or 4. You read on the right-hand side like this. You read it. Second step, you open up the word processor. You open up the requirements. You can only move it around if you look at the gray area. On the top, there's a gray area. You can only move it if you click on that with your mouse. This is where you can move it around. At the bottom right-hand side, you can make it bigger or smaller. Okay, so draft an explanatory note for 9 marks. Whether Colombia would be the acquirer, definitely. If Colombia is not the parent company, you will not be able to calculate any goodwill. So logic will tell you, if Colombia is the parent, there will be goodwill. If Colombia is not the parent, there will be no goodwill. Next, Peru. Wait, so sorry about that. B, A2, not B. Calculate goodwill, explaining how the fair value will be determined. Be careful, 2 points. Fair value of consideration and fair value net assets. So this is where I will introduce my materials. All right, it is useless if I think my materials is good. Why? Because I'm the author. It is a lot more useful if you are the student and you think that my materials is good. Why? There are 40 accounting standards examinable in the Sbr syllabus, and this is the summary of IFRS 3. So this is the summary of IFRS 3. It's on page number 135. Allow me to quickly bring you to that page 135. This is page 135. Parent by subsidy, IFRS 3. Amongst all the adjustments, you have to talk about the fair value of the parent's investment, cost of investment. Then, to find goodwill, you have to discuss the fair value assets and the cost of investment and the fair value of NCI. So these are the 3 ingredients to calculate goodwill. Meaning, when you read the question and it wants you to calculate goodwill in your mind, there must be 3 ingredients. Number 1, in the yellow highlighter on the screen, the parent's cost of investment. Number 2, if you are using full goodwill, you plus fair value of NCI. And you minus the 100% subsidiary fair value net assets. Together get full goodwill. On the other hand, if an examiner asks you for partial goodwill, there shall be no fair value NCI. So all this is what we call knowledge. All right, come to class, 2 things you need: knowledge and application. You have to learn the accounting standard. Then you apply to the examination question. So you follow me as I'm reading. My mind is actively thinking, what are the relevant accounting standards I'm going to use? Next, for 10 mark, the defined contribution and the defined benefit plan. IAS 19 will always come up in the exam. Maybe section A, maybe section B. So that you will not have IAS 19 in FR, I'm also teaching FR, by the way, you don't have this standard. So FR do not contain IFRS 2 share-based payment, IAS 19 employees benefits. It will only appear in SBR, so it will surely come out. Next thing you do, you open up the word processor. As you can see, I've already typewritten something. See, when I teach students, I don't just say, oh, go and read the examiner's answer, which I do not like the examiner's answer. Why don't I like the examiner's answer? Too lengthy. Even Graham Holtz by himself, he says his answers are not meant for students to repeat in the examination. It's just way too much. Every single time there's a teacher's conference, Graham Holtz, your SBR examiner, will say the same thing. And his answers are meant to complete the entire idea, but practically for a student, this is good enough. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to erase everything. As you can see, it's gone now. So the question here will be question 1. It is called Colombia. I'm not going to answer the whole thing, please don't worry. It is the latest March 2021 examination. All right, question number 1. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you the plan, right? The examination plan. This is what you should do. Notice I read the requirement and I'm aware that to answer A, control bowl part A, A1, is Colombia the acquirer in a business combination? Most students tell me, Roy, when I read the question, I do not know what I need to do. The next thing, if you do not know what you need to do, you cannot pass. Simple as that. Therefore, you base your answer on the requirements, which the requirement says, should Colombia, as you can see, should Colombia become the parent company? This is exactly what the question is asking. So should Colombia be the parent company? You leave a space, then you think, okay, which is the relevant accounting standard? Make a guess. In order to decide whether the parent controls or not, do you know that there's a IFRS 10? Notice? So let me bring you to page 130. Like I say, there are 40 accounting standards and it's hundreds of pages. I have summarized this into 163 pages. Will you get this? Of course not. Only students registered for the examination, attended the revision class will get this. So this is your IFRS 10. As you can see, IFRS 10 would have 3 definitions of control, A, B, and C. So as a student, I would have remembered all these points, right? Then in my examination, I say, okay, to know who's the parent, I must decide if control exists or not, right? So control bowl again, there must be power over the investee. If the parent company do have power over the investee, what does that mean? Control exists. Second point, exposure to variable returns. What does that mean? We earn variable dividends. Next, control bowl. Number 3, the ability to use the power to influence the vote. Notice point 1, point 2, point 3 did not say anything about shareholding. What does that mean? Even if you own 0% share, you can still have a subsidiary. Example, Alphabet owns Google. Google owns YouTube and Fitbit. I hope you know that. So since Google owns Alphabet and Fitbit, and Alphabet, let me rephrase. Since Google owns YouTube and Fitbit, Alphabet do not own shares in YouTube and Fitbit. Did you know that? Alphabet owns shares in Google. Google owns shares in YouTube and Fitbit. But Alphabet Inc. still controls Fitbit and YouTube. Why? Via Google. It demonstrates, this is called a vertical group. It demonstrates in a vertical group that you do not have any shareholding, control still exists. So notice point 1, point 2, point 3 is where you discuss, do you think Colombia is the parent company? I'm very focused. Next, In order to answer part B, I control both. I type down there part B. First point in part B, the examiner make me go calculate goodwill. If I want to use a short form to save time, why not? Spell out goodwill in bracket GW. That's not all yet. I have to discuss two other things. Together with goodwill, I have to discuss the fair value, do you see fair value of the consideration and the fair value of net assets. How would they have been discovered? So come back to the screen. I use the requirement to carefully plan my answer. If there's point 1, obviously there must be point 2. You see how systematic I go? So in point 2, there will be fair value, then obviously FV in bracket. So what does that mean? Next time you can use a short form, you can speed up. You see, speed up fair value of net assets, fair value of consideration, which is called purchase consideration, or we call it cost of investment. Next, there's a number 3. Number 3, what do we have here is your fair value of net assets. We call FVNA in the subsidiary. All right, oops, typo error, sorry about that. Subsidiary. Got that? So this is what I mean by you read the question, you pen. Finally, in Columbia book, how defined benefits, defined contribution should be accounted for. Meaning the accounting treatment in Columbia, who's the parent company, for control board, again, part C. See the point? Part C, control board. That this will be the first point, 1, defined benefits. And you can call DB if you want to. And there will be control board again, defined contribution plan. Therefore, we come back here and number that to be point number 2. You get the idea? I will show you the whole answer later. I read the requirement and know exactly what I must do. And I leave a space in between for me to explain. Because if I answer all this, I get marks. So what did you learn? In the shortest possible time, plan your answer. Because it is this answer that helps you earn the marks. No matter how well you read, how well you understand the case, for as long as you're not typing, you don't pass. You understand? I'm not cursing you. I'm telling you, out of my years of experience, what can I share with you in this 1 hour? Of course, if I take you for maybe like 5 months, I can teach you many things. If I take you for the whole revision classes of 18 hours, I can teach you many things, but I only have 1 hour with you. What can you benefit in this 1 hour? I choose to talk about exam technique. Because knowledge you can learn. Exam technique is either you learn from your own mistake over time, or you listen to someone experienced and just tell it to you. You understand my objective now? Next, you open up the exhibit. When you open the exhibit, you can go only to the gray area and move it up. But of course, you don't ask for trouble and you cover symbols, highlight. No, you don't cover all the way to the top. You just shift it slightly just below all the power, all the keys, all the functions. Yes. And you don't cover exhibit 1, 2, 3 because you can easily open them. Obviously, it is too tiny for you. I know that. You go back to the bottom right-hand side. You can use your mouse and make it bigger. If it's still too small, there's this there. Do you see that? So Brazil is a competitor of Colombia. On 1st of July, my year is on 31st of December, so 6 months ago, both Brazil and Colombia acquired 50%. 50% of the 5 million shares. The consideration comprised of cash and also share value. So no harm by taking this. And I highlighted, right? I can control C. I can call up, do you see, conveniently I call up my word processor, I click, and I know this will become the fair value of consideration. I can control V. I paste, and I can expand on that. Do you notice what have I done? I am planning my answer. As I read, I copy and paste relevant point to the respective area. Of course, because this is CBE, I can edit later. So what did you learn? You learned the skill. What skill? Important exam skill. Plan your answer and you extract information to put. I do not want you to keep reading. Why? Because if you keep reading and you don't stop and think, you have information overload. What's the next thing that happened? Server crash. What do you mean by server crash? That means you get confused, you get panicking, and you do not know whether what's the next step you do because why? Too much of information. And you just feel like shutting down the computer and just go home. Sounds familiar? Good. So to prevent that from happening, I read, I stop, I think. Okay, this is exhibit 1. It must be to talk about Colombia is the parent company of Peru. Why? Why not? Brazil pay for shares. Colombia also pay $8 per share. But the parent company is the one who pay more. You have a share exchange. You pay cash to buy the share. More than that, you own more shares. Because why? You pay the cash, you pay the share exchange. So you have more variable return than Brazil. What the IFRS 10 say? The acquirer is the one who has the variable return. Follow? Then, next paragraph, of course, I'm skipping a couple of paragraphs. I look at something important. Colombia has the right to appoint 60%. 60% makes the majority of the board. So the company who controls the majority of the board of directors will be able to control the subsidiary. Therefore, Colombia likely to be parent. What am I talking about? Part A1. Next, it goes on. There, Brazil and Colombia both appoint one member to the management team. That means the MD. It is the senior manager appointed by Colombia who makes the key decision. Yes, in that case, Colombia controls Peru. I'm not done yet. Here, the senior manager appointed by Colombia has a supervisory role, and this has the right to request for significant activities such as imposing restrictions to tell the subsidiary what to do, what not to do. Obviously, the first paragraph, Exhibit 1, tells me A1's answer, the Peru is a subsidiary of Colombia. Then I move on to Exhibit 2. In Exhibit 2, net asset. Do you see net asset? Great. So this is net asset. It is too tiny. Of course, you can make it bigger. And I just shown you how by pulling on the bottom right-hand side, you can go to the inner tag and zoom. So you read from the top, the net asset of Peru, what's that? Subsidiaries, fair value net asset. It must be used to calculate goodwill. That means to say, if I do not read Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, I will not be able to calculate A2, the goodwill portion. You follow me? It will be 32 million. And there is other following items. So if there's a following item, fair value bond. What's the problem? Good question. What's this word? Please take a look. What's this word? It says that unquoted. What does unquoted mean? Private company. Peru invested in a private bond. IFRS 13 says that level 1, active market for identical asset. IFRS 13 level 2, active market for similar comparable asset. IFRS 13 level 3 says unobservable input. So this is where I have a similar comparable bond in a quoted market. In order to use these $2, I will need to discount by 30%, meaning to say I would have 100% minus 30, the fair value of bond will be 70%. Based on the quoted market bond, just to become the unquoted market bond, which is the private. Unquoted just means private, but then again, you and I are more familiar with the word called private. We're not familiar with the word called unquoted. You see the point? Next, the financial asset is over. Now we look at the intangible asset. If you want to, you can change the color of the highlighter so they know, okay, fair value net assets. Peru has a financial asset. Let's adjust the fair value of the financial asset. Now look at the green color. Peru has an intangible asset. So even if you're reading lots of information, your mind is very specific. One paragraph, yellow color, talks about financial asset. The next paragraph, green color, talks about the subsidiaries intangible asset. You follow me? IFRS 38. Let me rephrase. IAS 38. Let me show you how much effort I put in to summarize all 40 accounting standards to help my students. Let me just show off, if I can use the word show off, my lecture notes. Page 65, IAS 38. Yes, I don't force students to go and read accounting standards because it's difficult. If you have ever read an actual accounting standard, the accounting English is like when you read law standards, the acts. It is not easy to understand, you know. Therefore, I have, what happened? Oh, obviously, the page is wrong. Just a while, please. There. Okay, coming up soon. IAS 38. There. I tell students, see point form. If you meet all the 4 criteria, you capitalize as intangible asset. And IAS 38 prohibits company to recognize internally generated brand customer list you cannot recognize. Example, WhatsApp is famous. WhatsApp balance sheet cannot recognize WhatsApp's brand name. But when Facebook buy WhatsApp, Facebook can recognize WhatsApp brand name. Who says so? Do I say that? Of course not. IAS 38 say that. So if you can recognize the brand separately, that means you meet all the 4 criteria, you shall recognize it separately. Otherwise, you must recognize it within goodwill. Why? Because it's a business combination. You see how much I summarize the notes for my student? So that means to say, education 5 months, I teach them all the accounting standards. In the revision class, I show them these notes because the summarized notes are good, but it's not enough to teach the student. So if you already know the accounting standard, you learned it before, not familiar doesn't matter. You learned it before. So my materials will come to help you focus on the important points. You don't believe me? I have even asset impairment under IAS 19. Do you see? Page 104. Okay, I'm again showing off my materials because after teaching for 21 years, I must have a lot of things to share with students, right? Of course. All these are precious knowledge I'm sharing with you. So this is your IAS 19. What do I have? Impairment of a planned asset at the lower of carrying value and asset ceiling. So this is all very important, very precise. But don't make students read the entire paragraph because it's meaningless. Examination is coming. You just want the focus exam, right? Focus knowledge. So come back to the exam question. So yellow color, financial asset. Green color, intangible asset. What's that? This is another service contract. It is a contract liability deferred income. So let's be more colorful and change to another blue color. Why not? Altogether, I have fair value of the subsidiary, Peru, yellow color, financial asset, green color, intangible asset, blue color, contract liability. So as I am preparing my answer, I know what to write. So please allow me to show you now my type answer for this question called Colombia. Do you see this? Okay, this is my revision lesson 1, revision lesson 2, and I have got so many files because every file is one whole answer. And please, the examiner have his own answer, but I do not want to look at the examiner's answer. Why? I'm not saying the examiner's answer is not good. It's good, it's too good, too detailed, too much time. But I think this is doable. First of all, define. Come to my class, or rather in the examination question, you define first. Why? The moment you define, you are simply repeating a knowledge that you already learned. So define the accounting standard. After you define the accounting standard, ladies and gentlemen, you apply to the case. So you see the point? So going on forward slowly, this is forming an answer. And if you're going to use any spreadsheet, please look at here. You refer to the examiner, you tell the marker, refer to the spreadsheets for goodwill calculation, or refer to the spreadsheet for any other calculation there is to speak. You see what's happening? Do you see here again? Refer to the spreadsheet for the plan asset calculation. So conclusion. I'm going to take the Q&A very soon. I am mindful of the time. Conclusion. In the actual examination, first thing you read, let me close all. Do you see the function close all? I close everything. You read the summary on the left, on the right-hand side. Then you quickly read the requirement. You open up the word processor and you plan your answer to the best of your ability. Then as you are reading the exhibits, you will be able to modify your answer, copy, paste, and you extend your answers. What have I done to you? In the shortest possible time, you started to type, you started to answer, and you begin to earn marks. You understand this technique is a very important technique. Like I said, it doesn't matter question 1, question 2, question 3. Finally, remember I said earlier, get your camera ready, right? Nowadays, everybody have a camera phone, isn't it? You may want to type, no, not type, take a snapshot, screenshot, or camera on this. Is what I think it will be important for the coming examination. Yes, I mentioned that and I know what I said. So this will help you to plan for question 1, as what I think will be important. Got the snapshots, good. Then this is what I think will be important for question 2, 3, and 4. Please take a snapshot if you want to, and take some time to read. I don't have the luxury of time to let you read now, not because I don't know how to share with you, but like I say, take a picture. Take a picture. Hopefully it helps you. Next, last page. Take a picture. Please don't say, Roy, there are so many accounting standards. Must I study everything? There are 40 accounting standards. These are not the entire 40, but these are enough to help you pass the examination. These are commonly examined accounting standards over the years. Okay, so please take a snapshot if you want to. Got that? At the bottom, there's some more. So with the last 15 minutes left, yes, I think I can take some Q&A. So do you want to take over? Or do I?
We don't have any questions in the chat box, but if
Okay.
anyone has any questions right now, actually feel free to ask, because this is your opportunity.
Yeah.
You can ask about anything ACCA related, whether it's about exam techniques or tips, specific papers, because Roy actually teaches more than just SBR paper, as he explained just now. So anything.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Because I have allocated enough time to talk about exam technique, because I cannot really teach you everything in that little time that we have today, but I can share with you precious exam tips, which I think that was exam planning, everything is important. So yeah.
Actually, I can start off with, oh, there's one question.
We'll give a similar section for FR. At this moment in time, I'm only scheduled for SBR. Yes, for FR, not yet. Why? Because it is pretty straightforward. Section A, OTQ. Section B, 3 case with OTQ. But remember, for FR OTQ, if you do not get the entire options correct, you earn 0 mark. Instead you earn the full 2 mark or earn 0 mark. So before I'm talking to you about now this webinar, whole day today I was teaching since the morning and afternoon. I was teaching the FR revision class. So section C for FR, you have a case with 20 marks. Either trial balance to balance sheet, trial balance to SOPL, SOCE, or probably console cash flow ratios. So these are the possibilities. Thus, I think it is quite straightforward, and I dare not tip give exam tips on FR because you must study everything. But for SBR, things is different. I am a little more confident to provide you exam focused exam tips. That these are the things that you must know. I wouldn't say exam tips, I would say exam focused. If you don't know this, you're asking for trouble. So for SBR, I can do that. But for FR, I dare not do that because everything gets tested. So it's very risky for FR if you study certain topic but not other topic. So please don't do that. If you need to sit for FR, make sure you study the 28 accounting standards, SBR 40 accounting standard, FR 28 accounting standards. How do I know? I count them. I look at the ACCA's examinable document and I count them. All right. So how many points should I get to write for 10 marks? Good question. That's a very good question. For a 10-mark question, let me show you. Wait, let me share my screen. All right. So I like that question. Thank you for that question. So for 10 marks, how much must you write? Do you see? This is my answer for 9 marks. Yes, I'm sure you can see, right? But I tell my students in the exam, please don't type there 9 marks. But in class, I type there 9 marks. The answer is, it's not how much you write. The answer is, it is to the question. Example, let me give you an example. Part A1, we were asked to discover who is the acquirer, who is the parent, right? So I talk about IFRS 10, and there's only 3 headings in IFRS 10. So in IFRS 10, power, exposure, variable return. I define them briefly, I apply to the case, I get 9 marks. So probably, every point define and apply, I earn about 3 marks. By the way, Graham Holt says they don't give half mark. Minimum student can earn is 1 mark. They don't earn 1.5. They don't earn half mark. They don't earn 1.5 mark. That means to say, if you want to earn that 1 mark in SBR, you must work for it. Right? ACCA do not, okay, for SBR, maybe other people have, but SBR concern, no half mark. Because half mark is easy to earn. Very easy to earn half mark. You must earn 1 mark. Generally, how to earn 1 mark? You define and you elaborate. You get 1 mark, 1 point. Let me demonstrate further. Do you see this is calculation? Calculation, you earn some marks for the calculation. You earn some marks for the explanation. So this part A2, I have to talk about 3 things. Cost of purchase, fair value of net assets, goodwill. So I have part 1, part 2, and part 3. Altogether, I earn 11 marks. Why? Because when it comes to the subsidiary fair value net assets, I must talk about financial asset bond, intangible assets, and the deferred income. So I got more things to talk. Calculation-wise, probably 3 marks, 4 marks. But the rest of the 11 marks comes from your calculation. So it comes from the theory. So to answer a question, it's not about how many lines, how many sentences must I write. It's about what did the case ask you. The case have asked you fair value net asset, talk about bond. Unquoted bond to become fair value of a discounted quoted bond. Talk about intangible asset, talk about a deferred income. Talk about these 3 things. You understand? So what to write comes from our yellow, blue, and green. Where's that yellow, blue, and green? Here. Yellow, there, blue, and green. So how much am I going to talk about depends on the question. I hope I can give you by the book rule, okay, if 10 marks, 10 paragraph, but it doesn't work that way. Depends on what is being asked. So I hope that answers your question by looking at the question very carefully in order to decide how much to write. It is not hard and fast rule, but it all depends on the question. Then you are asking, can you show again page 1, page 2? Sure, I can show you again page 1, page 2. I am referring to this. Why not I make it a little bit smaller? Because you have technology, right? You can take a snapshot. Just a moment, let me make it in a way that you can actually take a picture. I think 75% was okay. So please take a picture, screenshot. Make sure it's clear. You can expand it later. So this is my page 1, page 2 of the exam focus. Exam focus. I always ask students after their examination, email me what came up. All right, so they can help the next year, next batch students to focus what's going to be important. But this time around, I think there's a good chance for foreign subsidiary. Cash flow, not so high chance, but there's still a chance for cash flow, foreign subsidiary, but definitely, goodwill, full partial impairment. This one you must know. Year after year, examiner asks you on goodwill every single year. So it will be very careless of you if you go to the examination for SBR and you do not want to study goodwill. All right, so this, take a picture, take a snapshot. You can expand it bigger, and I hope it helps you. All right, you can see? Oh, you cannot see. Because I've forgotten to share again. My carelessness, because I'm not used to sharing and not sharing, I always share and I permanently share. Okay, good. So it is this page. Can you see now? Thank you so much. So I'm not used to, toggling between sharing and not sharing. So please pardon me for that. I was careless. I'm so sorry. But please take a picture. Hopefully it helps you. All right. You know what students say after every exam? After every single exam, students say, next time I will study earlier. Sounds familiar? How do I know? I'm not a student. I'm a teacher for so many years. Year after year, students will say, next time I'll study earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, make it be this time. Please make it be this time. Do your best. No more Netflix, no more YouTube, no more Facebook, no more Instagram. That makes you happy. But to be honest, does it pass your examination? As of today, you have only had 24 days to know. 24 days for examination. So it's very little days, like 3 weeks, and a little bit more. So please focus. It is time to sacrifice entertainment. Do your best. Remember why you had wanted to study ACCA. There are people like us to help you. All right? But you must not lose the motivation. ACCA is difficult. You have family, you have work. Yes, you have your commitments. You cannot sacrifice family commitment. You cannot sacrifice work commitment. You can only sacrifice entertainment. I'm not saying that you don't watch TV forever. I'm just saying the exam is coming. So you have to balance between family, work, and education. So obviously, the only thing you can sacrifice now is entertainment, isn't it? After the exam, you can watch all the TV, all the Netflix, anything that you want. But just 3 more weeks. If you study every day for the next 25 days, as if tomorrow is the examination, I tell you can earn enough marks to pass. As if tomorrow is the exam. You can do that. All right? So let me see if there's any other chats. Okay, there's one chat that asks a longer question. It says that in the previous sitting, there was a question on how to account for crowdfunding. Wondering if you have any thoughts on that. Crowdfunding, very easy. Honestly, it's not difficult. You will not be asked to define crowdfunding. Just like you have never been asked to define Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, blockchain. You have never been asked to define. So you have been asked on the potential accountability. Before I talk about crowdfunding, let me talk about Bitcoin. Before you recognize Bitcoin, there are 2 past questions called crypto and another forgotten another question, like sugar or Calibra or something, that also concerns Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is readily convertible to cash, financial asset. If Bitcoin is not readily converted to cash, intangible asset. But you have never been asked to explain Bitcoin. Again, just like you have never been asked to explain blockchain technology, but blockchain come in ethics 2 times. Blockchain come in ethics 2 times. Okay, so now talking about crowdfunding, what's my thoughts? Simple. Crowdfunding, either you pay money or you receive money. If you're on the paying money end, do you recognize a purchase of asset? Or do you recognize a loan receivable? Or do you recognize an expense? You understand what I'm talking about? In crowdfunding, are you the person who paid? Or are you the person who received money? Graham Hope style, trust me, he will talk about either from the receiving person's point of view or the payee, the person paying point of view. Now, if you're the person receiving, of course, you debit bank, right? So do you have a deferred income? If you do have a deferred income, probably you apply IFRS 15. Why? Because debit bank credit liability, you did not fulfill the 5 steps in IFRS 15. You did not meet the performance obligation. As a result, there's no income. You follow me? So what's my thoughts on that? You do not need to explain, define crowdfunding. You read the question very carefully. There must be at least 2 parties to the case. One party may be receiving money, one party may be paying money. So what's the accounting treatment? What's the impact? This is how it will be tested. Like the same way it's tested on sustainability, same way it's tested on faithful representation, comparability, like the same way. All right, there'll be 2 parties to the case. What is the accounting treatment? So focus on that. There will be hints in the case. Remember, in the examination, you're not asked to answer from your memory. No need. You apply to the case. First, of course, you must know accounting standard, but you read the case, there is often more than one accounting standard. Example, yeah. Parent company want to close down a division. So what comes out to your mind? Okay, close down division. Provision 36. Held for sale, IFRS 5. Impairment 36. Impairment 36. Provision 37. Held for sale, IFRS 5. Oh, at the same time, parent to close, I can potentially apply 3 accounting standards. So this is why you need to know and need to suggest accounting standard unless the question says calculate goodwill. Unless the question says apply defined benefit, then you know specifically what accounting standard. But question 3, question 4, they may not tell you accounting standards. They tell the case. They're going to suggest what's the accounting standard possible. You follow me? Okay, so there's a new message at the bottom. Let me check. To ask a question that's not relevant to the seminar, thanks for that, Owen. When should we do ethics and professional? Okay, just for you to know, I was in the Singapore ACCA member subcommittee, volunteering free of charge my time to help students. So when I was in the ACCA, because I no longer, I get too busy in my work. So when I was in the ACCA subcommittee, there's a consensus, there's understanding between all the members that we should advise all students to sit for the ethics module before they study Sbr, SBL for 2 reasons. First reason, it will be useful for Sbr, SBL exam because it opens up your thoughts on what's called ethics. So this is talking about the ethics module, yeah. Second reason, you have to sit the ethics module sooner or later. First reason, it helps you in SBL, SBR exam. Second reason, you have to sit for ethics module sooner or later. Might as well you do it sooner since it helps in the exam, right? No point you pass all ACCA, then you sit the ethics module and say, oh, I could have said it earlier because it helps me in my earlier exam papers. So to answer a question, Kin QA, if I read your name wrongly, please pardon me. To answer a question, you should sit for the module, ethics module, before the exam. And third reason, unspoken, ACCA increase the exam fee every year. Even COVID or not, exam fee still increase, membership still increase. So you should try to sit for it before the price get too high. Right? So for the third reason is unspoken. Because in front of ACCA, I cannot say ACCA is so expensive, right? It doesn't look very nice. So, but for the third reason, just before they keep increasing the fee, just do it. All right, let's see what else can I help you with. Oh, yeah, okay. You're most welcome. So do you want to take over? Okay.
All right. Let me just share my screen.
Okay.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Roy. Unfortunately, I do have to wrap things up. We're kind of running out of time, but I hope that everyone have learned some very insightful information from Mr. Roy on either exam approach, tips, or anything related to ACCA. We are happy to answer any of your questions. If you do have any, do email us and reach out to us. So for those of you who are interested in actually studying with us or actually looking for ACCA tuition, we do have a 10-year anniversary offer. So if you want to find out about it, please reach out to us. This is only available for ACCA members. So you're very lucky that you get this opportunity or this offer today. And it actually ends very soon on the 26th of November. So if you are interested, do reach out to us. And then one more thing before we wrap it up, we have a very exciting launch coming up for LSBF Singapore. It is called lsbfx.com. So it is actually an online learning platform for students and professionals anywhere around the world, where it allows learners from across the globe to upskill themselves and have access to professional programs at their fingertips. So do follow us on our social media to stay tuned on the latest updates. So again, if you have any questions, you can drop us an email at sgmarketing@lsbf.edu.sg or give us a call. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Roy, for sharing your very insightful information with us today. I'm sure everyone learned a lot of amazing things. So please, everyone, stay safe, take care, and have a great evening. Thank you.